Welcome to Eggs and Issues, a monthly business program presented by the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. Good morning, everyone. I'm Erin O'Valley of WMTW News 8. Eggs and Issues is supported by presenting sponsors Bank of America, Martins Point Healthcare, and WEX, in cooperation with IDEX Laboratories, Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, and Oxford Networks. Also, television sponsor WMTW News 8, production support by Headlight Audiovisual. And now, please welcome the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce President, Bill Becker of Key Private Bank.
I hope you're all enjoying the light show. Well, good morning and welcome to Eggs and Issues, and thank you for being here on such a warm and sunny morning. This is the Portland Community Chamber's monthly business forum where we gather to discuss business issues of the day. My name is Bill Becker, Vice President at Key Private Bank and the volunteer president of the Portland Community Chamber of Commerce. And I, for one, was glad to get out of the house this morning. My wife, who teaches in Portland, didn't have school while my kids did have school. So I thought it was best that I be here. With us today is Eleanor Roosevelt, and we thought it appropriate during the holiday season to invite Anne to speak at Eggs and Issues and talk about the good work being done at Goodwill Industries of Northern New England. I'd like to briefly say a few words about our sponsors. Our program is made possible through the generous support of our sponsors, each of them leaders in the greater Portland business community. Please hold your applause until I've mentioned everyone, and this morning we're going to be looking for a sand and salt sponsor, if you were trying to walk up the sidewalk. Our presenting sponsors this morning are Bank of America, Martins Point Healthcare, and WEX. Our cooperating sponsors are Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare, IDEX, and Oxford Networks. Reception sponsors, Clark Insurance and Key Bank. Our parking sponsor is Allen Signs with Impact. Overall production support of Eggs and Issues is provided by Headlight Audiovisual, and our program is broadcast by our friends at Time Warner Cable's digital service Video on Demand. Our print sponsor is The Forecaster, and our e-media partner is MainBiz. Radio sponsor is WGAN, who interviews all of our speakers and broadcasts from here every month. Our broadcast partner is WMTW TV. We also thank our special community partners, Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield, Northeast Delta Dental, and the Portland Press Herald, Maine Sunday Telegram, pressherald.com. Now please join me in thanking all of our sponsors for their generous support, and thank me too. Our Tomorrow's Leaders and Entrepreneurs program allows area high school and Southern Maine Community College students and faculty to attend Eggs and Issues during the academic year. We'd like to thank our sponsors AAA Northern New England and Springboard Staffing for their support of this program. While many of our Tomorrow's Leaders are sleeping this morning, we do have some students with us today from area high schools, as well as from St. Joseph's College, and faculty and staff and students from Southern Maine Community College. Would you, all these students, please join me and be recognized? Baker Newman Noyes sponsors our Community Corner program, which allows area nonprofits to promote their organization at Eggs and Issues. Our Community Corner partner this month is Goodwill Industries of Northern New England. Goodwill Industries of Northern New England operates diverse retail, healthcare, and workforce services that help individuals and families find stability through work while diverting useful material from the waste stream. As an employer of nearly 2,000 people and a social service provider, Goodwill's unique perspective can help other employers find and keep reliable employees. Special thanks to Anne, Brian Murphy, and Terry Roy, who are at the table this morning answering questions and sharing information over coffee. I'd like to invite everyone that's associated with Goodwill, I know there's a table here, to please stand and be recognized. Thank you for joining us. I'd now like to take the time to recognize any new chamber members who are with us this morning. Would all the new member companies please stand now and be recognized? Welcome to the chamber. And now on to the program. Just a quick reminder, we'll have a question and answer period at the end of today's presentation. I encourage you to use the microphones provided. You may also tweet questions or follow the conversation using our hashtag #EggsAndIssues. I'm thrilled to welcome our speaker today, Eleanor Roosevelt, known as Anne. She is the president and CEO of Goodwill Industries of Northern New England. As I mentioned in the Community Corner introduction, Goodwill Industries of Northern New England is a not-for-profit social enterprise with over 2,000 employees serving Maine, New Hampshire, and northern Vermont. Anne joined Goodwill in 2011 from the Boeing Company in Chicago, where she held the position of Vice President, Global Corporate Citizenship. Anne's career has encompassed leadership positions in philanthropy, public policy, politics, the arts, and higher education. In 2013, Anne was presented with the Queen's Commissioner's Medal of Merit of the province of Zeeland in the Netherlands, in recognition of her work carrying forward the legacy and values of her grandparents through the annual joint presentation of the Four Freedoms Award. Currently, Anne chairs the Roosevelt Institute Board of Directors and serves on the board of the Maine Community Foundation and Net Impact. She is a fellow at the Center for Corporate Citizenship at Boston College. Anne holds a Bachelor of Arts from Stanford University and a Master of Science from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Please join me in welcoming Eleanor Roosevelt.
Thank you, Bill. And good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming out on this seasonally appropriate morning. Some of you may have seen Ken Burns' recent PBS series on my grandparents. Anybody see that? Yeah, great. I'm glad that you did, and 32 million people watched that series. But now you know a whole lot more about my history than I know about yours. That kind of incomplete understanding is like many people's knowledge of Goodwill, especially Goodwill Industries of Northern New England, the company I work for. It seems that everybody knows Goodwill stores, but that's not all we are. You know a little bit about Goodwill because you are generous donors and perhaps shoppers, but I bet few of you know the whole story. So I'm going to start by telling you the story of the founding of Goodwill, because I bet you don't know that story. And when I heard it a little over 3 years ago, it was really an epiphany for me. In the late 1800s, a man named Edgar Helms, who was from the Midwest, but he was a Methodist minister assigned to serve the people in the settlement houses in South Boston. He saw that these people, who we now call New Americans, but who perhaps were some of our forebears, were poor. They were hungry. They were without adequate food and clothing and shelter, and they were without a job. No one wanted to hire them. And because of all of that, they lacked the fundamental dignity so important to human beings. He wanted to help them. So he took burlap bags and got in his horse and buggy and went up to Beacon Hill, where the well-to-do were generous and gave clothing and household items that they didn't need or want anymore. And he took them and he gave them to the needy. But he saw that that didn't solve the root problem. They were still poor, they were still hungry, and they still didn't have a job. They needed jobs, and those were scarce. They needed a way to support themselves and to care for their families and to become part of their new community in America. So he invented a business. And what is perhaps the first social enterprise in America was born. Edgar Helms created Goodwill jobs out of those donated goods. hiring people at every point in the supply chain, collecting, sorting, categorizing, sometimes repairing, and reselling. And that model has spread across the country and came here to Maine 80 years ago. In turn, those jobs gave individuals and their families who had come to this nation with such high hopes, and yet were barely holding on. It gave them a real chance to build their new lives and become active participants in their community. A job, having work, is the means to community engagement and the pathway to dignity. Then and now, there is dignity in work, all work. Now, many people understandably think that the way I look at life and put my life together comes from my grandparents. And they certainly were important along with my own parents. But the real influencer in my worldview was Babar the Elephant King. When I read as a little girl the Babar books, and I saw the city that Babar built for all the elephants, Celesteville, what I learned from that was that in Celesteville, everybody had a job, and everybody's job was appreciated for what it contributed to the community. Think about that. Every job was appreciated. The trash collectors, the doctors, the cooks, the custodians, the teachers, the salespeople, the lawyers, the mechanics, and on and on. Every job. But today, in our reality, not everybody has a job, and not every job is valued or seen as the contribution to the community that it is. All of us read reports, and we have our own experience as business people. We know that there are jobs waiting to be filled in our region. And we know that there are people who want to work. But many of them are people who need a second chance, or a third chance, or a fourth chance, or a seventh chance, another chance. Now, Kent Peterson, who is CEO of Fluid Imaging in Scarborough, knows the value of giving people the chance and the support to prove themselves in a skilled job. We were proud to recognize Kent at one of our recent business appreciation breakfasts because he so enthusiastically works with our workforce services team to meet his goals for a productive workforce. And our team, through our partnership with Coastal Counties Workforce, Inc., has tools that financially support the extra training that it can take to help people overcome the many challenges in life and be successful on the job and in life. I've heard Kent say that it is Fluid Imaging that was the beneficiary of the experience, not just the person he employed. He said, "It made us proud of ourselves," and it should. For our region to thrive, we all need to think seriously about how to include a diversity of talents in our workplace. How do we play a part in community by thinking through the ways we can create value from that diversity? How do we make that slight mental shift from focusing on getting a particular job done in a particular way by a particular vision of a person, to being more broadly focused on getting the job done by hiring an individual who we otherwise might have overlooked. That value shift has broader impact. When a job gets done by someone you'd never considered as being able to do that job, it shows that you can do more great things with your business, for your business, and for the community. Success is more meaningful and more sustainable because you have strengthened in multiple ways the economy of your community. To have a thriving economy in which every person who wants to work can work, we each need to do our part, but we all reap the benefits. Now, thanks to the leadership of our board of directors, we at Goodwill are moving forward with a commitment to move 10,000 households in our region out of poverty in 10 years. Now, we're not certain that that's the right number or even the right time frame, but we are certain that we need to get started. Just as Goodwill's founder, Edgar Helms, saw a need and developed a corresponding solution, we see the need to help people build stability in their lives through work. Every person in our community, no matter what brings them here, whether they are Mainers or from away away, anyone who wants to work, wants to build a stable life, has talents that will make our workplaces and our communities stronger and richer with their experience. Now, do any of you remember Paul Simon's lyric in his song, Love and Hard Times? This part of that song really has stuck with me. It's easy to be generous when you're on a roll. It's hard to be grateful when you're out of control. You know, when life has been topsy-turvy for years, building stability takes practice. We believe that we can help people move through the turbulence in their lives into stability by getting, keeping, and growing in a job. We know it'll take longer than the 30-day or 60-day or 90-day check-in that's common in workforce services. What it takes is a commitment to each other. We are calling our work Job Connection. It's an approach that sticks with folks who have had the most serious challenges in their lives so that we can address those challenges together and overcome them. And we're going to be able to immediately expand the impact of this kind of work thanks to Sterling Kozlowski's leadership and an early and transformative investment from KeyBank of Maine. They share our vision of sustainable communities, thriving communities, where all people are fully engaged and participating in the community through education and employment. Now, at the start of this, I talked about influences. And I want to tell you a little story because it always makes me chuckle, about my daughter, who now lives here in Maine. But about 20 years ago, when she was a young teenager, we were together with a bunch of people at Warm Springs, Georgia, in a little chapel on the campus of the Rehabilitation Institute there, which was founded by my grandfather for polio rehabilitation. And we were commemorating the 50th anniversary of my grandfather's death. And this ceremony was in the chapel there. And we had travel problems, and we were late, and we had missed the rehearsal. And in fact, we were late for the service. And we actually arrived just in time. We got into our pew just in time to see that it was almost her turn, her name is Margie, her turn to get up and give her part of the ceremony. And this was a chapel, and so it had a communion rail in front, and all the speakers had processed and they'd gone behind the communion rail, and they were seated up there, and the gate had been closed. So it was her turn, and she got up and started gamely walking down the aisle, and I didn't know what she was going to do when she got to the communion rail. Luckily, Dr. Forrest Church, the famous Unitarian preacher, and who was the presiding minister, anticipated her likely awkward leap and graciously opened the gate for her. But once inside the gate, she still didn't know where to go. To the pulpit, where the gospel is read, or to the lectern, where the announcements are made. Well, being a Roosevelt, she chose the pulpit. And from there, with a loud and clear voice of a young teenager, she read her great-grandfather's words from January 11th, 1944, a speech that has come to be known as the Economic Bill of Rights. I was so proud of her, and I want to read it for you now. In the midst of the war that we were fighting, so many of our young people were abroad. My grandfather set out a vision for the country that we could be following that conflict. He said, every American is entitled to the right to a useful and remunerative job in the industries or shops or farms or mines of the nation. The right to earn enough to provide adequate food and clothing and recreation. The right of every farmer to raise and sell his products at a return which will give him and his family a decent living. The right of every businessman, large and small, to trade in an atmosphere of freedom from unfair competition and domination by monopolies at home or abroad. The right of every family to a decent home. The right to adequate medical care and the opportunity to achieve and enjoy good health. The right to adequate protection from the economic fears of old age, excuse me, sickness, accident, and unemployment. Thank you. The right to a good education. Now you can see that my grandparents influenced me, and they probably influenced you as well. This speech ties together the elements of building a stability for a person, for a community economy, for a nation. Excuse me. Now, contemporary research in healthcare reinforces the thinking behind this Economic Bill of Rights. For decades, Robert Evans and Gregory Stoddart have led research on the driving factors of a community's health. They mapped out 9 areas: social environment, physical environment, genetics, quality of healthcare, health and function, disease, behavior, well-being, and prosperity. Now, if you're like me, you're a little bit relieved It's not all about our BMI, although that's important. But what does this matter to all of us? Well, throughout the work that we're doing, we're seeing clearly how the social determinants of health drive how we help people find stability in their lives. At Goodwill, we're focused on three of them. We can't do everything, but we're focused on three: access to education and training, safe housing, and employment and job satisfaction. These are crucial factors that we can influence and change. This is what drives us at Goodwill, and it drives us to partner with you and others in our community who provide other expertise important to the fulfillment of these outcomes. I came here to this Goodwill because I felt like I fit in. What I saw in the work of Goodwill of Northern New England was a commitment to shared dignity. It came from the organization's earliest days, the digging deep, getting your hands dirty kind of commitment to every person's right to personal stability and engagement in the community through work. That's what the Economic Bill of Rights says. Everyone deserves a job. A job is the way we help build our community. In order to live in the community, we all need a decent roof over our heads and food on our table. Personal stability and engagement in the community. That's what makes our economy. Edgar Helms recognized it over a century ago. My grandfather spoke about it 70 years ago, and we see it today. Give someone a chance and they can change their lives. Beyond a chance, people need support, and it takes practice to keep life changed, and we can help. Whether we acknowledge it or not, our dignity is connected to their dignity. We are so proud to be partners with all of you in this wonderful community, and we look forward to achieving even greater outcomes for everyone who lives here. Thank you for listening, for putting up with my tickle in my throat, and I'd be glad to answer any questions. Any questions? Really, you can ask me anything. I've had every question you can imagine. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Dora Ann Mills. I'm from University of New England. And
Dora, hi.
Yes, we've met through mutual friends.
Yes.
So before my question, I just wanted to say I think a lot of us were just so proud and happy that you were settling in Maine. And then I do want to note that I do have 2 items on me from Goodwill stores.
You look fabulous.
But since I've never been known to be a fashion statement, I'm not sure that's a good advertisement for you. So, but I did want to ask, so you've put out a very wonderful argument for some businesses to get involved with hiring people from Goodwill. How do people get started? Do you have an office? I mean, besides this, we all know the stores,
Yes.
so the employment
Yes.
side, how can we get involved as employers?
Well, first of all, look on your tables. There's a little card in front of you that gives you contact information for Goodwill. Our corporate headquarters are here in Portland, Maine, over on Washington Avenue, even though our territory extends west across New Hampshire and northern Vermont. Contact us. Look at our website at goodwillnne.org. Or call us, and we can direct your call to whoever is the appropriate staff person to help you. Talk to Kent. Talk to others in our community who have worked with us and ask them how it works. And then come to us, because we are all about making that match. it is, we realize that every business is different. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And it's not a one-size-fits-all with the people who want to work either. That's where our model comes in, is it's a very personalized partnership of support system to a potential talent to the employer. So we would be more than happy and very honored to be of help to any and all businesses who would like to help put people to work.
Great. So someone could come out to the business and help and meet to talk about what the needs are.
Absolutely, come by. We're in the old Nissen Bakery building. Come by and talk with us or give us a call and we'll set up a meeting. Thank you, Dora.
Good morning, Ann. Ron Cantor, Southern Maine Community
Hi, Ron.
College. We've talked before many times, and I'd just like to hear some of your views. When we think about the economy, when we think about jobs and job training, often there's a political divide. And I'm wondering if you might just speak to the positive side of it, where the overlap is, where regardless of political persuasion and agenda, we can come together on some of these issues.
Well, I really thank you, Ron, and I really do think that it's a nonpartisan issue. Our interest, all of us are interested in having a strong economy, and a strong economy is based on the number of people who are working, who are making income, who can then feed that money back into the system so that it's a circular benefit. So we really come together with the same goals. We all want our enterprises, our businesses, our farms, our schools to thrive, and we want people to be gainfully employed so that they can be part of the economy. We realize that there are impediments to that because you as a business owner, business leader, realize that you have to achieve certain goals, and so you want the best employee. We are asking you to take a chance on someone who doesn't seem like maybe they are the best employee, but we say that we will be there with them to help them be successful. And therefore meeting your goals, which we totally understand, as well as our societal goals of having full employment so that we can have a robust economy. It's not, this isn't as hard a problem, I think, as we often think it is. It's really common sense. And if we all work together with just these common notions of dignity and positive engagement in community and the healthy flow of economy, we can get this done. This is America. We can get this done. Anybody else?
Yes, good morning. My name is Bryce Hawk. I'm with the Opportunity Alliance. And kind of a bit of a follow-up to that point. In light of today's global economy and where many of us are feeling pressure from outsourcing or automation, and how has that changed in any way, shape, or form the context and thinking about how do we essentially outreach and expand the opportunities of employment to as many people as possible? Thank you.
Anybody who's been in business, especially since the end of the war, knows that our business environment has changed, and it will change forever. That's part of the dynamics of business. But we also all know that there is tremendous opportunity in Maine, in New Hampshire, and Vermont. We all know that there are jobs that are going begging. So I think my feeling is until we get all of those jobs filled, we can talk about outsourcing, but we've got opportunity right here already. Opportunity Alliance is a great partner of ours, helping to meet the needs of our clients who want a job but who need other kinds of services that will help them build stronger lives. That's what we do to reach the capacity here in our region that we know is there. I think also the spirit of entrepreneurism that makes our region so enticing to people to come to our region to start new businesses. We were just talking with a businessman who has been outsourcing all of his production work for the product he sells, even though he's a Maine company. He's bringing it back to Maine. We're going to help him find the skilled workers who are going to do that work. We have so much opportunity that's what we're intent on doing, and that's where we ask all of you to be our partners, because you know where those open jobs are. And if you come to us and say, this is what we need, this is the kind of skill that we're going to need, we will work to develop the means to employ a person who otherwise doesn't look like they're probably a good candidate, but who wants so much to have that job so that they can bring a paycheck home to their families instead of a welfare check. That will make all the difference. Hi, Kristen.
Good morning, Ann. Hi, Kristen Amaley with Good Shepherd Food Bank, and thank you for your inspiring words this morning. What I was hearing in your words and in your grandfather's words, that it's not only a job, but it's a job that can ensure a family can cover their basic needs. And I'd love to hear your perspective on the minimum wage and a lot of the debate that's going around currently, certainly in Portland, but in the broader Maine and the United States as well.
I think it's a very important conversation, and we are probably a good example of the complexity of that conversation. We are in the retail business, and if you understand the categories of business, retail is that's not necessarily the highest paying jobs. Those are entry-level jobs. And we have gone through a process of looking at our own employees and asking them if they're making enough money to pay the bills, and we were surprised. And we were stunned, and our board said, we'd better walk the talk. So we are personally addressing it to raise our salaries so that our employees are appropriately paid in order for them to live in our communities. We understand that's hard. That puts a big pressure on our financials. But our commitment is to the community and to the necessary dignity that each member of that community has to have in order to be a useful and profitable member of the community. They need to have enough money to put food on the table, and they need to have enough money to have a decent shelter and clothing for their children to go to school. And we help that some through our retail model, but we also realize that it is about valuing the work that our employees are doing and lifting our sights perhaps a bit above the sort of the bottom line, to look at triple bottom line, to look at their well-being and their ability to be a part of the economy as being just as important as how much our margin is. Mr. Mills, a lot of Mills here today.
Two of us. That's a quorum. Peter Mills from the Turnpike. I've had the pleasure not long ago touring your recycling facility, your warehouse facility out in Gorham, a building and an enterprise of rather astonishing scale. It appears to me that Goodwill is one of the largest recycling enterprises in New England. I was wondering if you could give us some sense of the scale of that operation and the sheer size of it.
I'm going to ask Randy Finnemore, who's our retail president, to give us a tonnage. Can you give us a number?
Good morning. It's a lot. It's a lot. So the recycling center in Gorham is our responsibility to the community to handle goods that are the byproduct of the 28 stores in Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. And so while I don't have that tonnage on my head, I could make one up. It's a lot. The fact is that we have probably in our retail business one of the oldest triple bottom line models, although we didn't call it that until recently, because we are bringing a systemic approach to how we do business, in that we receive donations, we sell donations, we employ people, we train people, we handle the products that are no longer useful in your homes, we optimize the value of those, return them to our programs, and in doing so, and to answer Mr. Mills' question, we find the highest and best use of each of those products before they're finally find their way into the smallest box possible, called trash or waste. So most people don't understand that, and I would encourage anyone to seek me out on a Thursday evening, for instance, and I'd love to give you a tour of our facility. That facility is so successful, and our business is growing at such a rate that we're opening a second one in Hudson, New Hampshire on the end of December 17, I hope. So, thank you.
We have time for one last question.
Hi, I'm Martha from Southern Maine, and I'm an adjunct nursing faculty there, and I'm a nurse and have been for a long time. And I'd like to ask you a question as somebody who cares about public health and the community, from the perspective of the person who is downtrodden, and how do we help facilitate their arrival at your doorstep so that they can get the help that they need? What's the process?
You can just help them contact us through the website or by calling our main number, which I think is on the card, and we can direct them to the nearest person who can really work with them. Part of our Job Connection model is that we saw that there are a lot of center-based services, and we know that people who have challenges are probably connected with one or another of those services, and perhaps you would be one of them. And so we will go to you. They don't need to come to our building. It's a mobile service. And so we're hoping to take advantage of the network of services, social services that exist in every community, to bring this added focus on jobs to the work that you're doing with people who are facing challenges and trying to solve them. So call us, and we will get the touch to you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing the multifaceted role in economic development and improving people's lives that Goodwill Industries of Northern New England is doing. We appreciate it very much. And thanks to you, the staff, and the board as well for all that you're doing for so many people in the area. And also thank you for recognizing Kent and my boss. I know both of us and KeyBank are thrilled to be supporters of Goodwill of Northern New England. You can stay up to date on everything related to the Chamber by connecting via Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Stay tuned to the Chamber's website for video of this morning's Eggs and Issues. And we hope to see you right back here on January 7th, when our guest speaker will be Chris Joyce, plant manager at Texas Instruments. Chris will be speaking about growing talent, the technical pipeline for economic prosperity. And I understand that he may be bringing some show and tell. So again, thanks for joining us on such a miserable morning, but it was a wonderful speech and raised our aspirations, and have a great holiday season. Thanks so much.